Welcome to Creepy and Geeky. I'm your host, Robert, and on today's episode, we're jumping right into the main part of the show because I'm currently away on vacation. Donna and I will be back to our weekly shenanigans next week, but until then, check out this new episode now. On today's episode, Donna and I are talking about Furiosa, the latest chapter in the Mad Max Saga. As you all should know by now, Donna is the host of the Donna Tha Dead podcast and a regular guest here every week. Welcome back to the show, Donna.
Hey, Robert, thank you so much for having me. It is always nice when I get to actually do an episode with you. Like we talk at the
Yeah,
beginning, but it's nice when I get to do, an actual one with you.
exactly. No, it's always a great time getting you on for one of these longer episodes, so we can uh, chat for a bit more, especially about movies that we enjoy. As I've said before, I would just have you on for every episode, and we just do this all the time. But I also have other guests I do enjoy having on as well.
Yeah.
And you need a break from me sometimes. So
I was
uh,
sitting there, my husband asked me the other day, he's like, "How long have y'all been friends?" And I said, "I don't even know. Do you
I
remember?"
don't I don't know. It's been
I feel like it's been almost 10 years.
I I want to say it's close to that, because I think it's nearly that, because it's been because I think it was right around the time that I started collecting Funko Pops originally, which would be right about 10 years or so, because it was
It's
not
so
too
weird.
yeah, because it was not too long after my son graduated, and then because then we now had money, I was able to actually spend money on some, hobby things, and I
Hmm.
weirdly got sucked into Funko Pops for a number of years. I don't collect them anymore at all. Like I have
Yeah, I don't
absolutely
either.
no Funko products in my house anymore. Um, but yeah, I think it was right around that time period. It might have been a little bit later than that, but like
Maybe 8, I guess, but it's
I'm
got to be
thinking
close to
somewhere
10.
between 8 to 10 years. Yeah,
Yeah,
which is crazy. Like
that is crazy.
you are literally, I think, the friend I have had the longest in my life,
Oh my
outside of
God.
outside of my wife. So it's just like it's crazy when I think about that. Just that's how long you and I have been talking.
Yeah, he
Um,
asked me that, and I was sitting there really scratching my head, and I was like, I don't know, maybe like 6 years. And he's like, no, Donna, it's got to be longer than
it's definitely longer than that for sure, because we were talking before um I had the one job. Um so I know that for sure, and that job was I got that job at, what was that, 2017.
Yeah,
So
it's
it's
got to be
definitely,
around that.
so it's got to be close to 10 years, because we were talking
Yeah.
before that.
Sorry,
um
y'all. I had to ask him that because
no,
we've
yeah,
been talking so long, and I swear to God, one day we do need to meet because we've been talking this long. We should
yeah,
definitely go and have like a day where we go and watch the movies and talk
yeah, no, it'd be,
like
yeah, like do actual like in-person recording would be a lot of fun.
yeah.
Yeah, no, and the funny thing is we don't live that far
No,
away from each
we
other.
don't.
I live in Georgia. She lives in South Carolina. So it's like it's really close. And you were actually down here. Like that was the funny thing. You were down here because you had a hurricane
Yeah,
hitting
yeah,
your
yeah. We had to get
area,
the
and
hell
you
out of
actually came
Dodge.
down. Yeah, you came down here to like spend like get away, and you were visiting family while you were down here. Um, and we were gonna like possibly at that point, but like it
Hmm.
just timing didn't work out. Um, but I think I was working at that store at that time. Maybe no, I think that was maybe before that. I don't know. It's because before that I was a school bus driver. So do you remember when were we talking that far back when I was a school bus
Jeez,
driver?
I
I
don't
want to say we
remember.
were, but
I want to
I don't
say we were
remember.
too, but this is what happened when you get old, folks. We don't remember
Yeah.
anything.
I don't remember anything anyway. I've never had good memory.
Really?
So yeah, no, I've had terrible memory my whole life. So like I can remember the most inane trivia about movies and comic books and everything else. That's what largely takes up my brain space. But
Yeah, I do the same thing.
personal memories, I can't remember shit.
Yeah,
So
movies and music. Like if you it's so bizarre. Like I swear to God, I want to get to this episode, but I could go into another room and completely forget what I went there for. And I think most people do that. That's normal.
yeah,
But if you yelled out like an 80s song and you just started like with one lyric, I would recite the whole entire thing. That's how my memory works at this point. Um, it makes no sense.
yeah,
Anyhow, we are here today. We are gathered here today
yeah.
talk
I'm
about this
talking
thing
music
called
lyrics.
Furiosa.
Yeah. Yes, Furiosa. Yeah, the latest movie in the Mad Max saga. Um, I did the last episode I did with Richard Newby about Fury Road, and these are the only two movies I'm doing on the Mad Max saga. Because I feel like they were really like with Fury Road, it was a reboot. Um,
Mhm,
and not to say that the original movies aren't worth watching, because I do think they are worth watching, even despite the main actor being a not great person these days.
yeah,
But they're still worth going back and rewatching for the sheer spectacle of what George Miller was able to do with the budget and the special effects of the time. Um, but with these two movies, he was able to do things so much better and crazier than he'd ever done before.
mhm,
Um, and this and Furiosa for me is just like the culmination of all of that. I've like I personally, for me, Fury Road and Furiosa are equal
mhm.
in terms of how much I enjoy both of them. Both of them are five-star movies in my opinion. Um, and like I can't I think even a little bit Furiosa edges just past Fury Road for me. And I know that's gonna be sacrilege for a lot of people because Fury Road is so beloved, but like Furiosa Fury Road is about like 2 days on the road. And it's an epic chase movie, and I love that about it. But Furiosa is more about like the epic of who she is.
The origin
Um,
story is so
yeah,
massively epic. I love
and it's
this.
so good between like Anya Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth being the leads in this movie. It's just like, oh, it's so good. Like two of my favorite actors are just like in this like crazy post-apocalyptic epic are just like, I don't know, it's just fantastic to me. Both of
Yeah,
them are
seeing
doing like, yeah, just the best work of their careers, I think.
yeah, I was just going
But
to say, seeing Hemsworth portray Dementus, I think this might be his best performance.
oh yeah,
I genuinely love what he brought as this character Dementus, and when I saw him, I was just like, "Where's this guy been? Where's this actor been my whole life?" Because he was so annoying, and you wanted to just he was a brute, but he was still kind of calculating and he was still funny. My son likes to joke and say that he's wasteland Joker because that's exactly what he felt like. Like he just didn't give a shit about anybody or anything. He just wanted to move on to the next thing and do all of these crazy things. He just he embodied what that that apocalyptic timeline was, which was whatever the fuck as a free for all, and we don't give a shit whether you know he had his band of people, he had his gang, but honestly, he was just in it for the thrill of whatever he could do. He's thrill seeking, and that is
well,
dangerous.
that, and I think there's definitely a sympathetic, tragic undercurrent to his character as well. That I found really fascinating. And was something I noticed on the first watch. And actually rewatching it, just last night was the first
Mhm.
time I've really sat down and rewatched it. I had started it a while ago, and then got distracted. But last night I was like focused in, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna rewatch this and everything because I really like it. But I really wanted to do it, and then I was looking up some of the trivia and stuff like that about it as well. But it's I feel like there's this really tragic undercurrent, and there's this, and he even says it in like in the end when he's being confronted by Furiosa
Mhm.
and stuff, and we'll get more into that. But like, they're two sides of the same coin, um, and just one little tip over could turn her into him, um, because ultimately what he is seeking is also in a way vengeance, um, but he, I think, realized early on that he was never going to get that vengeance.
Mhm.
And so he just needed to do what was right for him. And I feel like that's the kind of the undercurrent of everything that's going on with him too, is that there's a part of him that is trying to take on the people who are ruling. Because you see it throughout the thing. He's trying to take on Immortan Joe, um, and get what's his, and kind of get what he needs to get for his people as well.
Mhm.
And so like when you look at it from that perspective, that changes Dementis in a lot of ways. From just this like I agree with you the way that he is. He's thrill seeking and everything, and he's just like looking for the next thing because yeah, that's what he's doing. He's like, it doesn't matter, nothing matters
Right.
except for the thrill, and making yourself known, because that's all you have in this new world. um
Exactly.
and then but at the same time he's also this guy who's leading these people and trying to keep them, to an extent, trying to get them what they need also.
Yeah, I
um
mean, you're right,
it,
though. It is to an extent because even towards the end, it kind of falls apart with the people that he's
yeah,
with. I mean, except for the really loyal ones, everybody is just kind of like, okay, it's everybody for themselves at this point.
you're right,
Um,
yeah.
so you typically you don't break down movies. I will say the intro to this film was probably one of the best things that I had seen in a long time to see what the green place that they mentioned, that they
Yes,
made notice of what it actually looked like, which was a place of abundance that we keep hearing,
yeah,
a place of abundance. And I joked about this with my family when we saw this in the theater. I said they call it a place of abundance because they don't know what grass is. They don't know how to say green. These are things that
yeah,
they don't see in the wasteland, so it has to be a place of abundance, you know. Um,
yeah,
but it looks almost like a Garden of Eden where they are
yeah.
in this vast desert of everything. This family or this group of people, they're living, basically with solar panels and, they've got the society going and my gosh, it may not be a matriarchal society, but it sure seems like it was run like one. Like,
It was very heavily like I only saw one dude in the whole group of them
yeah,
that I could see, and he was an old guy.
right.
Everybody else was women, um that were adults. I don't know if there were any boys that were children. I would assume there were. But it's every I mean it was, and that's why it was called the place of many mothers.
Mhm.
And there is some like going through the trivia of this and everything like that. We're not given whether or not that is actually her mother or a woman who adopted her, or
Right.
just one of the many mothers that just took care of them. It just, so we don't know exactly who that woman was the whole time. I mean, she was a mother figure, but again, the place of many mothers. It's never quite clearly. I mean, we just assume that she's her mother. Um, but yeah, no, it's a fantastic sequence. I agree. It's just between the place the place of many mothers, and then just the whole sequence of her being of Furiosa being kidnapped, and that mother going out and hunting them down, and trying to get her back is just, oh, it's so fantastic.
That's one of
Um,
those things that I really love about George Miller is like his female characters in all of the movies, they're never, just weak-willed women. They're
exactly.
definitely badasses in their own right. And I would imagine you would have to be, because I mean, you got people out here either
Yeah.
trying to assault you or kill you or eat you or all three. So
Yeah.
yeah, you would need to be a kind of a badass to survive in this wasteland. Um, and she was. She, as Furiosa said, she was magnificent. I've never seen
Yeah.
a one-woman army in an opening sequence that was just insanely cool and badass. That woman was. I feel there's something about seeing her do everything that she did, and then you understand why Furiosa was as tenacious and tough as she was, because
Yep.
these are the people who raised her. These many mothers made her tough as nails. Um, and it's a we all need a revenge tale. We all need a starting block, and this
Hmm.
was her starting block. And then to be introduced to Dementus on top of that, it's like, oh, okay, this is why we have the Furiosa that we have in Fury Road, because she's gone through
Yeah.
more stuff before she even is a 12-year-old. She might have been what, 10, maybe 12 when this happens.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I agree. I think this edges out Fury Road just because it's such an awesome origin story to see the beginnings. And we don't get Anya Taylor-Joy until what, an hour or like 40, 50
Yeah.
minutes into this movie, which is
Yeah, it's nearly an hour
wild.
in before we get her. Yeah. Well, and the interesting thing too is that they did do this movie definitely has a lot more. The first movie was heavily practical with some CG shots to
Mhm.
enhance. Whereas this one there was a lot more CG done with it.
Yeah.
And and again they were enhancements. I did read that they did it for especially the sequence later on in the movie with the truck, the big truck battle,
Mhm.
that's like 15 minutes long. They had to do that to keep the sky consistent. But also one of the things was too is that the um the young version of Furiosa, um they used non-generative AI to make the young version of Furiosa and Anya Taylor-Joy look similar,
Mhm.
because the girl who plays the young version didn't look enough like her. So they actually used that AI to make the face more like Anya
Mhm.
Taylor-Joy's, and as she got older, it got more and more like Anya Taylor-Joy's. Um, as you see her farther and farther into the movie, and so that was interesting in terms of that. But going back to Chris Hemsworth in this movie and Dementis and everything, I agree. I think that he's doing like some of the best work, and that this is more in line with like the kind of work that he wants to do.
Mhm.
He has said multiple times that he's so happy that he got to work on this because him being an Australian, the Mad Max is like their Star Wars. The
Of
Mad Max
course.
movies are like their Star Wars movies. It's their cultural, like their big, you know, big movie series. And so I'm pretty sure he auditioned for Mad Max in the original, but lost it to Tom Hardy. And I don't know how far in the auditions he even got or anything, but but when what 2015 he would have been a pretty good name by then
Mhm.
because he was already Thor and all that.
Right.
So I think that it's just probably going for just different. Maybe he wasn't the right type at the time, which is great though because I think that he's more the Dementus. He's perfect for Dementus.
Mhm.
Because like he's got that kind of like demented Thor look in this movie, and I love that. Um, but it is something I read too, is that this incorporated a lot more of Chris Hemsworth natural nervous energy that he normally has to keep toned down in any other movie he's in,
Oh,
which
wow.
you can kind of see when he's in Thor, like when he's playing Thor and everything like that. He's much more like, um
Like pretty
just
stoic and rigid.
yeah, stoic and solid and everything like that. Maybe not so much whenever he becomes like, chubby Thor and everything, but but I think that's when he gets to play out the character a little bit better
Right.
too. But this, I think this is closer to the way his energy naturally is, from what I read. And I'm like, okay, I like that. I like that, he was able to play, a variation on himself. Obviously, he's not Dementus at all. But I love that he was able to bring more of himself into that. And his wife also plays two roles in this movie. Elsa Pataki is his wife. She's most known for being in Fast Five. Uh, she's the Brazilian cop that
Oh, okay.
Vin Diesel's the Dom kind of gets together with in that movie, has a son with later. Um, Spoilers if anybody hasn't watched the Fast and Furious movies. If you haven't seen those, go watch them. They're good. They're silly, but they're good.
They're
Um,
fun.
they're a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But you know, but they but she plays the other mother in the very beginning that gives Furiosa's mother the gun. Um, and she's the one riding the horse at the beginning that goes running out.
Hmm.
And then she's the one with the scarred face later. She's the one that's part of
Oh, that's in the
Dementus's group with
gang.
the
Yeah.
yeah, with the scarred face. Um, so yeah, so I mean, obviously they put a heavy makeup on her to make her look different because when she's in the beginning of the movie, that's how she normally looks. And then they put heavy makeup on her to
Right.
obscure all that to give her an extra part in the movie, which I thought was cool. But yeah, no, I this I'm kind of jumping all over the place with this, but
That's okay.
I just this movie, like I was so hyped for this movie, especially after I heard Anya Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth were in it. And once I saw the trailers and everything, I was just like, oh man, this is gonna be so good. And it was definitely out of the non-horror stuff that I watched last year, because this movie just came out last year. Um, it was one of my favorite things. It just I was blown away by it. It was just it's so good. It's such a fun movie. Um, and it didn't do well. It did terribly at the box office. I think it did better on VOD. Like once it
Hmm.
came to VOD, people started watching it more, and it did well there. But it didn't do well on initial release. So there's a third movie that he's talked about potentially doing, called The Wasteland, and it's about Max's story. A year prior to the events of Fury Road.
Oh,
So I'm
wow.
hoping, yeah, so I'm hoping they get to do that. Speaking of this movie was written at the same time that Fury Road was written. This was the backstory given to Charlize Theron so that she would understand her character. And so she knew all of this
Hmm.
story, as did other members of the cast and stuff like that. So they would all know her story. But this was where you see all that depth and heartache in Charlize Theron's character in the original movie, is based on all of this backstory. And then once you get all this backstory, you're just like, God damn,
Yeah.
now you understand where that all that pain comes from. So I think that's cool that they actually had this whole script already done and written that long ago. I'm sure they had to tweak it and change a few things here and there. But for the most part, this is the story that they gave her.
I mean, it's
So,
really interesting too because it fills in all of the gaps. Like we get to see when, the origins of the war rig and how that whole
hmm
thing started and, how did she work her way up into being an imperator, I think that's what they call them when they drive the
yeah,
rig. It makes sense. It fills in all of the gaps, why she told Max, there's a certain combination to drive this rig. And, you know, I I love that we also get to see younger factions of all of these older people that we saw in Fury Road, like the
Yeah.
Bullet Eater and the People Eater, and,
Yeah.
all of that. You get to learn about Gas Town and Bullet Town, and it's interesting to see how this all kind of started and how they all work together. Um, I don't know. I think Dementus was probably the my favorite thing about this because he was just so wild. We
Yeah.
already had a baddie with a Morton Joe, and we already knew what we were getting with that. But yeah, this guy was a total wild card. I mean, yeah, there was even that
Yeah.
part where he goes in to talk to a Morton Joe for the first time, and he's got the stuff uh, hooked up to his nipples, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, what the hell is this dude doing? What is going on? The wild card factor is what keeps you interested in that. But you're right, there is a sadness to him. I mean, he when he first meets Furiosa, after everything happens with her mom, he, gives her the teddy bear. He's trying to be kind of parental. And in a wasteland, that's pretty rare. These
Right.
guys are usually killing and fighting and doing whatever they want to do to women and probably men. And here he is being a protector of this kid that anybody else would have already eaten or sold or whatever. Um, that brings a weird softness to that character because he's never tried to do anything untoward to her. He never puts his hand on her, at least that we saw. Um,
Right.
and he even pawns her off as his daughter. Oh, this is my daughter. She hasn't spoken a word since her mother died or whatever, the whatever lie he tells him, Morton Joe. And it's just like, really, dude? But in his head, he probably feels like he is her father. He is her protector. I think he wants somebody to care about him. If and I know that sounds weird, but I think he wants to feel like he said anything, to feel something. And there was no way in hell that kid was gonna come around and be be, and enamored with him as a parent when he did away with her mother. Um, but he cracks me up. There's just things that he does in this movie that I'm just like, "Whoa, what the fuck, dude?"
No, he
Even
definitely lives up to the name Dementus.
he
So
really does. Even when they encountered uh the war boy that has the arrow in his head and he shoots the flare and gets the red mist all of it. He loves it. This is like, oh, this is new. This is pageantry. I look great. This
yeah.
color suits me. you know, it's just there's something about him that's irresistible. He's a villain, but you can't help but want to see what this dude is going to do next. It's
Yeah.
that much fun.
Yeah. No, I love his performance in this. I love the character. It's just yeah, it just yeah, there was something like that was the interesting thing about the first one too is that really when you think about it, Martin Joe, he's in the first one, but like you don't get a ton with him.
No.
And even in this movie, you get a little I feel like you get a little bit more with the Martin Joe, you get a little bit here and there with him and everything, but you didn't really get that much. It was still Dementus was like the main big guy and
Mhm.
everything like that. I think the thing about the first movie with Fury Road, it was a Furiosa. It was really a Furiosa movie with Mad Max.
With Mad
You
Max
know, we
sprinkled
call it
in.
with the yeah, we call it Mad Max Fury Road, but it's really Furiosa's movie. Both of these are the Furiosa, you know,
Mhm.
parts. Like if he does Wasteland, sure, that's going to be definitely a Mad Max movie, but these were Furiosa movies. But even with that first one, it was Furiosa and Mad Max. They were like the two biggest people in there and throughout the whole thing. And I love that they managed to bring back as many people as they did. The guy who played the People Eater is the same guy who played him in the first movie.
Mhm.
They had to recast Immortan Joe and the Bullet Farmer because they were both of the original actors had died before this one
Right.
got filmed. But the people who played them were perfectly cast. They did a great job. You would have never known that that was not the same person playing a Morton Joe. Um, and then I mean they even got back Rictus, which is great. Um, who else? The organic mechanic was the same actor. That
Yep.
was great. We get a new brother. We got Scrotus, one of Morton Joe's sons. That's
Of
actually
course,
an actor
Immortan
from
Joe would name his
yeah,
kids Scrotus and Rictus. Oh my
yeah.
God.
That the actor who plays Scrotus is actually in the first movie too. He played the character Slit, which is the guy that was Nux's was on Nux's car, the one that was going to take his car in the first place, and
Oh,
then
right.
was like his Lancer. And so that guy got to come back and play Scrotus in this one. So it's cool. He reused a lot of the same people that he'd worked with before and enjoyed. And so I like that about that is that he'll work with
I like
repeat
that
people
too, because we got to see how the organic mechanic ended up with Immortan
with him
Joe.
or Joe. Yeah,
And then I love that we did get Praetorian Jack. My
yeah,
God, I did not think I was going to fall in love with a character so fast. He was the coolest character and was just obviously this is another person that we needed in her origin story because he
yeah.
taught her everything that he knew and she's the second in command for the war rig at this point and my God. When I tell you I had the biggest crush on this man when I saw this in the theater, I was swooning. It's like, we need more of that guy. We need more of Praetorian Jack. Um, we also get to see, once again, this war rig had so many other features. Like we have the what is it? The boomy knocker?
Yeah, the bombing knocker.
Bomby
Yeah,
knocker. That's what it was.
yeah.
That was interesting. I mean, this
I
rig. Go ahead.
I love that rig, man. It was like it was so shiny and like I mean, obviously, I mean the whole shiny and chrome and everything like
Shiny
that.
and
Of course,
chrome. Yeah.
that it plays into the whole thing that they're obsessed with and everything. And it's like it's so funny too because then you see the war rig and then in Fury Road and you're like, good God, what happened? It's like,
What
well,
hap
they lost the good one, and so they had to put together what they could after that point. They couldn't spend the time and doing all that again. Um, but I love this movie because not only do we get the new war rig, but we got more in depth about like Bullet Farm and
Mhm.
Gastown and
Yep.
all this, the world around the Citadel and everything, and Furiosa's world around that. So all that stuff that we were interested in that first movie we got in this one, and it just deepens that world. And it just really was so much fun and so enjoyable for that deepening of everything that we were teased about in the first one
Yeah,
that you
because
didn't
you
get to
you
see.
because you really get to see, in Fury Road, you're like, well, why would these people even work together? And then you get to see in this one because there is a trade factor going, somebody's
Yeah.
giving you water, somebody's giving you food, somebody's giving you fuel, somebody's giving you bullets. They work together and they keep this kind of society going because they have figured out a system that works for them. And here comes Dementus wrecking everything, screwing
Yep.
everything up. But it worked for them, especially when you have so little left in this setting and this wasteland. These men worked this out perfectly. Now, I'm not saying at some point they wouldn't turn on each other because they probably would. But at this point
Right.
in the game, they've made it work. That everybody was perfectly fine doing what they were doing and being in charge of their station.
Right. Well, and that was the thing. Like Dementus came in, he was like he heard about the Citadel and like because they come upon the one war boy,
Hmm.
and he hears about the Citadel and he's like, well, yeah, this sounds awesome. Let's go take that. Like let's I want something like that for my people, for myself, but also for his people. Like I feel like there was still part of that was like, yeah, he wanted it for himself, but like he was very much like because he does that whole speech when he gets there about, hey, these people are crap, they're keeping you down and everything, and you kind of feel like if his people felt like he was doing that to them, they wouldn't be with him. And they're listening to it just as much as the war boys and everybody else are. So there's still something about the way Dementus leads that makes the people that he's with, the people that are with him, still loyal to him. They believe in his um ideals of taking on these people and getting something more. And again, it's rules of the apocalypse type
Mhm.
situation. Um, but so I just found that again fascinating about his character and stuff that just, he's yeah, he's not a great person at all, but he still is trying to, you know, there he is trying to protect his people in a way. He wants them to do heinous shit, but as long as you show sufficient loyalty to him, he'll keep you and protect you and everything like that. So I mean, again, it's shitty, but it's like there is a weird twisted morality there as well. And it's the same with Immortan Joe. Immortan Joe like expects his war boys to send themselves to their deaths for him, but at the same time he's protecting them and feeding them and for the most part not so much the rabble down on the ground who's always looking for water and stuff from him. But and I love that too. We got a little bit more like there was one little throwaway scene in Fury Road where we got like a
Mhm.
guy crawling out of it, like a guy with no legs crawling out of a hole in the
Right.
ground. And then we got a whole sequence of that and finding out what was in those holes. It was not the greatest thing. But when you look back on it, you're like, oh, okay, I see what they were doing. But it's yeah, I just love this deepening of this whole world and everything, and just everything that goes along with it, along with
Mhm.
Furiosa's story and this whole story of Dementis taking these guys on and wrecking their whole thing and trying to and it works for a while. I mean, obviously
Right.
Dementis is doing things fine at Gastown. But eventually, it doesn't work out. And so that's, a part of his faction had split off, and that's the ones who are attacking the new war rig when we see it. That's the big 15-minute sequence we see, which is great. It rivals some of the sequences in Fury Road for
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
Um,
Definitely.
there was a bit in this one that he'd wanted to do in the last one. He wanted people flying, and attacking the war rig, but they couldn't make it work in the first movie. So I was glad to see, because this was something that I found out about in the book, Blood, Sweat, and Chrome, which details. It's like the oral history of making that movie, which was a
Mhm.
nightmare, to make. Um, but they um, that was one of the sequences that they had to cut from the original and that they ended up being able to put into this one. Apparently, from everything that I understand, this one it was a long shoot, but it wasn't nearly as harsh and as taxing as the original shoot for Fury Road was. Most of the long time that it took between getting this movie made, because the original movie took like 15 years to make. Um, like with and it happen in fits and starts and stuff like that. It would start and then
Right.
stop and start and stop. This movie, once it started, it just started and went. The major portion of the wait time between these two movies, because this movie should have come out not too long after Fury Road did. That was the original intention, and Charlize Theron would have come back to play the younger Furiosa. But in the intervening time, apparently Warner Brothers had not paid George Miller money that he was owed. And
Jeez.
so George Miller had to fight. And once he got that money and everything was settled, and there was new leaders at Warner Brothers, which happens all the time. New people, like new heads of the studios, always cycle through like almost constantly. But the new people who came in charge backed him completely and gave him pretty much everything he wanted. That's
Mhm.
why that's why I think in a lot of ways, I think that's why there's a smoothness to Furiosa, whereas like Fury Road looks like it was like fucking hard to make.
Right.
Um and every bit of that just looks like it was the most scrapped together put thing. Whereas Furiosa definitely has a gloss and a sheen to it. Um that it still feels like that, like definitely the apocalyptic part of it, but it definitely feels like it's it was easier. And so it's just like you can feel it a little bit better. It just feels like it was a lot better. Not to say that both Hemsworth and Anya Taylor-Joy also still didn't like have like problems while making it. Because I know that Anya Taylor-Joy mentioned that this was some of the hardest things she's
Right.
done, not just physically, but mentally. She was just alone for like long stretches because her character doesn't talk much.
Mhm.
And it's done through a lot of eye work. She's emoting through her eyes a lot. And so it's just, not being able to express yourself and do things. And apparently there was like some scream that she had to do. I don't even recall where in the movie she had to scream, but she had to scream. Maybe it was with her arm. But there was a moment where she had to scream and she had to fight to get that scream into the movie. Um, because it was just like she felt it was important for the character or whatever. But it's interesting just how these movies like get made. It's like he's so good at doing this. George Miller is a genius. And they say like that speaking of that 15 minutes, going back to the Warwick, that 15 minutes,
Right.
that took 78 days to film.
Oh my
That's
god.
over, that's 2.5 months, almost 3 months of filming 15 minutes worth of footage.
Jeez.
So, but that's just goes down to the complexity of all of that stuff and just how like detailed it all was. And they've said like, he runs one of the safest for all the practical stunts and everything like that. He runs one of the safest, film like film shoots,
I
because
believe
they
it.
they map it out completely before they do it. Um and so it's insane, just
It
how
is
much work
insane.
goes into these.
I mean, if you
Yeah,
think
go.
about it too, with him, George Miller, at the time when he directed this, I think he's like 80 now. You
He's
don't
in
see
his
too many
70s, yeah.
directors. Yeah, you don't see too many directors that age doing something this ballsy and this action packed and
Right.
making it safe and making it look seamless. And, it's just seeing this. I saw Fury Road in theaters and then I saw Furiosa, and I was on the edge of my seat for both
Yep.
films because
Oh
I was
yeah.
just like my jaw was on the floor because I couldn't believe all of the stuff that was going on and how quickly everything moved. Um, he makes what looks unsafe and impossible possible. And the fight sequences with the war rig, those are some of the best ones that you'll ever see. Just the timing of everything and, seeing the explosions. And like you said, he wanted to have people coming in flying and, it is fantastic. Um, when we finally get to see Furiosa and Praetorian Jack realizes that, hey, this is a woman, he doesn't do what you would expect him to do, which is, "Oh, okay, so I'm automatically gonna be with you because now I know your secret." He's like, "No, I can train you." I There's a line where he says that, she has a purposeful savagery, I think it is, and
Mhm.
there's something
Yeah.
about the way he says that to her, and I was like, "Wow." He knows that he can make her even better and even tougher than she is and give her the skills to go wherever she wants to go and she will be fine. And
Right.
the fact that he was compassionate enough to take her under his wing, that gave me a really good feeling because there are good people still in this wasteland that they are now in. There are a lot of good people, but they're using what they have, their skills to survive. It's like History Man telling her, when she's a child, I can teach you how to be a history person. You want to make yourself useful. So
Hmm.
the fact that Praetorian Jack knows that he can give her a skill and ultimately she ends up being the only person that does these runs, even as a woman,
Yep.
it seems like Immortan Joe is just like, I don't give a shit if you're a woman or a man, as long as you can do the job and you can keep these people away from my stuff. So
Right.
that speaks volumes that he knew that she already had the skills. He just needed to hone that for her so that she could survive in this place. Um, that's one of my favorite scenes, just seeing
Yeah.
them dueling with this and while he's driving and fighting, and it was insane.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think and it's interesting too because you do see that they fall in love with each other. But they never they don't consummate it because they know that they just need to get out.
Hmm.
Um and before they can really like do anything with that. And so, that's the thing that you can see. Like that's even like more of the like that's what's when you see this backstory, you can see all the pain and the hurt and everything that goes into who she is as a character in Fury Road. Um, yeah, I want to go back to what you were saying about Praetorian Jack, Tom Burke, the actor and everything. Apparently, like he usually played like terrible people, and so when people were describing this character as honorable and heroic and everything like that, it actually like affected him. Apparently he was like near tears when he heard that because like normally he plays terrible characters,
Really?
and so it was like getting to play a hero for once was like a big deal for him. Um, I think that's what's interesting too, is like he got to play a hero when he's apparently played bad people before. And
Hmm.
Chris Hemsworth, on the other hand, is playing this terrible person when normally he plays the hero.
Right.
So it's like I love that these flipped things for both of them. Um, but yeah, I love that, that Furiosa gets to yeah, gets all these things. She escapes from Rictus early on, um and transforms herself to look like a boy, so that she can survive in there
Hmm.
because Rictus is just, which I found was interesting too, because people in audiences need to understand what's a movie and what's not, because apparently the actor was getting hate sent to him
I
for
heard
portraying
that.
that character. And it's like, guys, he's not really that person. He's a
He's doing a
character.
job. This is
It's like
a movie.
you're meant to feel that way. Yes, it's great that you feel disgusted by that. That's what that was meant to feel, but it's a job. It was acting. It wasn't
Right.
real. Like that girl was never not safe, and he was never that way. And so it's just like just people's media literacy. People need to be,
I
be
don't
better. It's
understand this.
I
I
don't
don't
get it.
understand. They've
We
been
live in
doing
a
this for a while now. There was a little girl on The Walking Dead that people gave a lot of death threats and hate mail to because she was a character that, killed her sister. And it's like, but that was an acting job. You realize she
yeah,
didn't
the
really
girl's
kill
not really
her.
dead, right? It's like
We shouldn't have to tell people that. This is they are fictional characters that we're watching here.
this is what I don't understand is like how are people not separating that? Like I don't get
I
that
don't
weird
know. That's
separation.
scary.
It is scary. But that kind of goes into a lot of our current issues these days too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, I'm not going to get into that,
Yeah,
but
let's move on
it's
from that.
just
But I
yeah,
did
but
hear that. I felt
yeah.
very terribly bad for him because he
Yeah.
really didn't deserve to get any of that.
No.
And on the opposite side, on the flip side, speaking of hate, there's a character that was in this movie. He was one of the little war boys that was in the back of the rig. I think they call him a war
Yes.
pup. And he actually was bullied in real life. And George Miller saw that he was being bullied and gave him that role in this movie.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Yeah, apparently this kid was tormented and to the point where he felt like he didn't deserve to be here. And somebody reached out and George Miller reached out to him and offered him that role. So he's now, doing movies due to these people treating him badly in real life. So I thought that was kind of sweet that, he was able to start an acting career. And
Yeah,
this
no,
being
that's
one of his
awesome.
first roles. Yeah.
That's very cool. Yeah. No, and I love that. George Miller is like the nicest dude. Everything that I've ever read about him is just that like he is just super fantastically nice. Um, and he makes these crazy apocalyptic movies, but he also is the one who made like Babe, Pig in the City and
Which is one of
Happy
my
Feet.
favorites.
Yeah, and he made the Happy Feet movies, and it's just like, he makes these nice little children's movies, but he also makes, the post-apocalyptic nightmare stuff, which is
But we
great.
always have
So,
somebody in the post-apocalyptic ones. We always have somebody that has heart or that cares about somebody, even though everybody else is like batshit crazy.
right.
We always get somebody with heart. Once again, Praetorian Jack is just one of those people, and
Yeah.
she was so lucky that he came across her. We also get to see in this movie how she lost her arm in
Yes.
brutal fashion. Um, and one of your favorite things, we get to see an Evil Dead type of homage.
Yes. Yes. Here's the boomstick. Yes,
Oh
love that.
my
Love
gosh.
that. It was such a quick little like, oh, okay, yeah. And I don't even know if it was really that. It was like it just was like, just something that they would call a gun in the post-apocalypse. But I just was like, it doesn't matter. As an Evil Dead fan, I'm here for any reference,
Yeah, I
intentional
mean,
or not.
even her fashioning her arm, her new
Oh
robotic
yeah,
arm was
yeah,
just so
yeah.
great.
Yeah, definitely had some Evil Dead 2 overtones to it as well.
Right.
So, but yeah, it just yeah, no, it's this movie is just so much fun. There's so much going on in it. The action sequences are just fantastic. The war rig thing, the 15-minute war rig battle is awesome. But you also get them near the end when they're at the bullet farm, just her and him together. um that sequence is fantastic. Praetorian Jack and Furiosa fighting off
Oh, definitely.
the hordes of Dementuses. um and just, oh man, it's just crazy um how good everything was in this movie. And it's one of those movies where, like, because it fills in all that backstory.
Hmm.
I'm trying to think. There's another movie that I'm thinking of. I'm sure, like, is right there that's similar to that, where, like, it just goes back. Oh, it's like Solo, like the movie Solo, Star Wars Solo. It wasn't needed. No, did we already know most of the ideas of the story? Sure, but it's still a fun movie. I definitely think Solo's a good movie. Don't get me wrong. It's not a great movie, but
It's
it's good
fun.
enough. It's good enough. Um, I will say that we still, I'm disappointed we never got the trilogy of Lando Calrissian, Donald Glover's Lando movies. That I was hoping we would get out of that, but um, at least one movie with him would have been great. Just one movie, just with him being Lando again, just all him would have been perfect. But
Yeah.
anyway, um, but that's kind of what that similar tone is. Did we need a Furiosa movie? Not necessarily, but the fact that it is so good and so like it's so perfect for what it is. I'm just happy we got it. Especially, like I said, Anya Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth are two of my very favorite actors. I love pretty much everything they've been in. But and then just everybody else is doing a wonderful job in this. And just
Yeah.
the action sequences, just, oh man, everything is just perfection
Everything is
to
perfect
me.
in this film, and even
Yeah.
up into when she actually gets her vengeance, the way that she
Yes.
enacts that, you would think everybody would just assume, oh, okay, well, she's going to shoot him or she's going to drag him to death, doing all of the things. I love the scene where they show all of the ways that she could have killed him, like her
Yep.
mother and like Praetorian Jack being dragged, and then we get to see what actually happened to him. And I thought, that is epic. He wanted to go out in an epic way, and that was exactly what he got.
Yep.
Um, it was perfection. The world building is always top tier with Miller, and seeing all of these little gaps filled. What happened to her arm? How did she get this arm? Why does she have a shaved head? Why does she wear the
Yeah.
black grease paint across her face? All of those things are filled in now, and now we get to
Yep.
see this is why this woman is the way that she is. Um, and such a strong force on top of that. I even like the part where she comes back after she loses the arm and she tells Morton Joe and all of the other war people, yeah, this isn't what he's wanting to do. He wants you to leave so he can take the Citadel. And they actually listen to her. That's something that
Mm-hmm.
rarely happens in a movie, that they listen to a female character. But a Morton Joe knows, well, she doesn't have a reason to lie. She just came back here. to tell me all of
She
this
didn't
and
have to even
actually
come back. Yeah,
she
the
didn't even
fact
have to
that
come
she came
back.
back,
Yeah.
yeah, says a lot. So yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's definitely, and that's where I think the trust in her like got cemented. Like, he didn't like, sure, she was part of the, she was with Praetorian Jack and everything like that, and that was enough for him. But when she came back and told him, and then they were able to fend him off, then that's what cemented her to be his
Mhm.
imperator. But and like somebody, I think it was in the trivia that I was reading and stuff like that. It's there is this shows the reason why um that because we always assumed from Fury Road that she was taken by Immortan Joe.
Mhm.
But the fact that Immortan Joe and them never knew where the green place was and everything, that that's what was great about this, is that we got to see why, like how he never knew about it, and
Mhm.
and everything, because she never said. And Dementis never even got to find out where it was. um and so it's just, yeah, it's just, I don't know, this, it's so great, all the holes that it fills.
Mhm, and then I
You
also
know
love too at the end where they actually show us everything that started with Fury Road
yes,
towards the end,
yeah,
filling in those gaps. So, yeah, hands down for an origin story, you can't do any better than this. I mean, this is
yeah.
probably was one of my favorite films when I saw it last year.
Yeah, no, and it's just, oh man, it's just, yeah, it didn't get the love and the accolades that the first one did. I think it got shafted royally on that. I think it unfortunately came out at a bad time. I mean, it came out at a fine time of the year. It's just a bad time for movies to come to theaters. Nobody knows what's going to hit anymore.
Mhm.
Um, because I mean, to be fair, because of COVID, and that's really what ended up happening, because of COVID kind of hampered movie theaters in that way. People realized, well, I've got a big screen TV that's got good sound system. I could just buy this stuff. I could just wait and buy this, and or rent it and just enjoy it that way, rather than, then I can pause it. I can, this
I
goes
mean,
into
you
everything I've
could,
said before,
but there's
don't
something
give me,
about seeing this on the big
oh yeah,
screen that just really the movie going experience is always going to be one I would prefer just because you miss all of the feeling, the vibe of being in a theater, and especially if you go to IMAX or something and you go and watch this. My
yeah,
God, it's
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, I don't remember how I saw this. I definitely saw it in the theater. I don't remember seeing. I've seen both of these, both Fury Road and Furiosa, in the theater.
Mhm.
And I was blown away both times, for sure. But I do understand wanting to wait and just watching it on your own TV and stuff like that, for all the things that are good for that. And I won't ever say that, like, going to the theater is a necessary thing. Sure, it'd be great to see it in IMAX or in Dolby Sound or whatever like that, but sometimes both of those can be too much. And so it kind of just depends on your own personal preferences. But
Well,
I
I
do
mean, you
think
know
that
me, I
that's,
don't go to the movies all the time
yeah,
either. It has to be something magnanimous for me to go.
yeah,
There was no way in
exactly.
hell I was missing this movie. So, yeah, this was one
No,
I
yeah.
definitely had to go.
No, for sure. Yeah, exactly. And I feel the same way. I probably watch a few more movies now that I would have waited on back in the day, but now that I
Mhm.
do the AMCA list, I'm like, well, I'll just go. And so it's just, I don't know. It's just, this movie is definitely worth the watch in the theater, but if you didn't get to see it in the theater, you should definitely be watching it. There's so, like, whatever we're talking about today is definitely not even scratching the surface of what this movie is.
Mhm.
You definitely need to watch this movie. If you like Fury Road, I think you will like Furiosa. There's a lot of people who didn't like Furiosa. I don't know why. Um, they said they like Fury Road, but didn't like Furiosa. I don't know. It just seems weird not to like both of them.
I think
Um,
what we talked about before when we talked about Candyman and Candyman 2021, I think if you
mhm.
watch Furiosa and then watch Fury Road as a bookend, you'll like it. I think you'll understand and appreciate it a little bit more.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah. There's some movies that come along like that that definitely complement each other. I think that watching them together is better. And you could watch either or. He did it in such a way that you could watch either or, and either you could watch Furiosa first and
Hmm.
then Fury Road perfectly fine.
Any order, yeah.
Yeah. Um, I would prefer to watch them in the release order. That's just how I've always been. It's just like, yeah, I'm gonna watch it in release order. Because it's just like, oh yeah, now I want to know more about Furiosa. Oh yeah,
Right.
I can actually know more now. And so, for me, that just feels the better way of watching it. But to each their own, and I think that it works either way. There's some things like the Star Wars movies I think you should watch in a specific order. And then but these two you can watch in either order, and enjoy them just as equally. Um, but yeah, let us know. You know, hit us up on social media or whatever. Let us know what you think about this these two movies. Um, they are to me they're some of the best. I love watching them. Like I
Hmm.
said, I hadn't really watched Furiosa. I'd kind of watched it before, but Fury Road is one of those ones I can fall asleep to, which is funny. Um, I can just turn it on, and I've watched it so many times
Right.
is because I love it that I can enjoy it, and I can just put it on in the background and just it lulls me to sleep. And so which is crazy because it's action
There's a
packed and
lot
everything
going
like that.
on. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's so good. It's like, so Furiosa hasn't hit that much yet for me because I haven't watched it that many times yet. But I mean, that was the same with Fury Road. Fury Road was like I watched it in the theater, and then it was a while before I watched it again, and then I was like, oh yeah, I really like this movie, and so it was just like I always knew I liked it, but it was just like one of those things where I don't know, it's weird for me. Like I watch a movie in the theater and then
Hmm.
it takes me a while before I will rewatch it. It's like I don't know what it is these days. It used to be like I had to rewatch things. I think it's just because I have so many other things I need to watch for like the show or new things I
Right.
want to see instead. Going back to rewatch something is always like I already saw that. So that's what's fun about being able to with doing this podcast is it kind of forces me to go back and go, oh yeah, I really want to watch that movie again. Let me go watch it for the podcast. So, um, but yeah, but this was a great movie. Everybody should watch it. If you haven't, go back and check it out. It's probably, I would assume it's on Max because it's a Warner Brothers movie. So I would assume both of these are on Max
Yeah, they still
currently.
are.
Yeah, so I'm not surprised. It would make the best sense for them to be on there. But yeah, go check them out. And thank you again, Donna, for coming on and
Yeah, thanks for
talking.
having me.
Yeah. Why don't you let people know where they can find you online?
Well, pretty much anywhere that you listen to podcasts and online. I'm on Instagram and I think Blue Sky. I'm terrible. I'm mostly on Instagram, but I am on Blue Sky and Discord, but I don't really post there that often. And then I'm wherever you listen to podcasts, I'm usually there. So you should be able to find me, Donna underscore THA_dead.
All right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, likewise, I'm not active hardly on anything these days. I'm probably most active on Instagram, but even there, I'm barely active.
Yeah.
Which is not great when you're a podcaster. I guess, you should be doing constant promotion, but I don't do any.
Man, life
Like
is
I
life be life, and we got too many other things to do.
It was
But
funny too. A couple episodes ago, the one that I had you on before,
mhm.
I actually had it up. It was perfect. It went out and everything. I forgot to post on social media until late, late that night, and I was like, "Oh crap! I totally forgot to post anything." But by then, like, it had a number of listens, so there's definitely people who have subscribed and who like,
They got the little
automatically downloads and
notification.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm glad for that. I'm glad for it's just a handful. I don't have a lot of listeners, but I cherish all of you who are listening. So thank you. Um, and let your friends know if you like this show. Spread the word out a little bit. Because obviously I'm not doing a good job at doing it. So,
Oh my
but yeah,
gosh.
yeah, no. But thanks again. And obviously we will be seeing you again next week on the
Mhm.
first part of the show. So, but until then, stay creepy. Thanks for listening. Creepy and Geeky is produced and hosted by Robert Clark. If you like what you've heard, please consider giving the show 5 stars and a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and share the podcast on social media to help spread the word. Make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app or at creepyandgeeky.com. You can follow the podcast by going to creepyandgeeky.com and clicking on any of the social links. If you'd like to follow me, you can find my links at geekthulu.com. You can support the podcast by ordering teas and more on TeePublic or by donating to the coffee page. All of the links are in the show notes. Finally, don't forget, stay creepy.